All right, so you guys wanted us to talk about Stargate,
Stargate, yeah.
the 1994 film. We're going to do a deep dive. And we've got a podcast episode on it and some cool trivia.
Cool.
So,
Fun.
yeah, it should be interesting. It's a really interesting film, I think. It's got this kind of unique blend of science fiction, ancient Egyptian mythology, and, adventure.
Yeah, it's a really interesting mix of elements. When you think about it, it's taking real world history and mythology and then this big what if about alien technology,
Okay.
and it somehow manages to blend it all into this cohesive story. It really works.
Yeah, and it all starts with that Stargate,
Right.
this giant ring that acts as like a portal to other galaxies.
Yeah, it's such a cool concept.
I know. It makes you wonder, like, could something like that actually
It
exist?
definitely sparks the imagination. And what I think is really clever about the way the film handles the Stargate is it kind of slowly reveals its secrets along with the characters. So you're learning about it as they are. It's not just like, oh, here's this magical doorway. It's there's this kind of air of mystery and danger surrounding it. It keeps you hooked.
Yeah, it does. And speaking of Hook, you can't talk about Stargate without talking about O'Neill and Daniel Jackson.
Oh, for sure.
The dynamic duo, Kurt Russell, James Spader.
What a pair.
Yeah.
What an unlikely pair.
Yeah.
And I think their contrasting personalities actually reflect something really fundamental about exploration itself.
Oh, okay.
You have O'Neill, who is representing, kind of the military mindset, very action-oriented, focused on survival. And then you have Jackson, who is more like this scholar. He wants knowledge, he wants understanding, he wants to kind of solve this puzzle of the Stargate and where it leads. And it's almost like they're two sides of the same coin.
Yeah. It's interesting how that plays out in the film because you really do need both, right?
You do. You need that bravery to venture into the unknown,
Right.
but you also need that intellect to decipher what you find when you get there.
Yeah, and what they find is this whole civilization modeled after ancient Egypt.
I know. It's stunning visually
It really is.
with these massive pyramids and, these sprawling desert landscapes. But then it subtly weaves in these hints of advanced technology, and it makes you realize, oh, this isn't the Egypt we learned about in history books.
Yeah.
This is something else entirely.
Right. And that's where Ra comes in.
Right.
This alien posing as a god.
This powerful, imposing
Oh,
figure.
yeah. Ruling over this planet with an iron fist. And I think, the way he's portrayed is actually still pretty impressive. I mean, the makeup, the costumes, it all holds up remarkably well.
It really does. And, it's not just about the visuals with Ra. There's a real depth to his character that goes beyond just a typical villain. Like, I see this, like, weariness in him.
Oh, interesting.
Almost like a boredom. Like, he's grown tired of playing God after thousands of years.
Yeah.
Which makes you think about, the burden of that kind of power
Mm.
and immortality.
That's a really good point. And it makes me think about the themes of liberation in the film.
Right. Wow.
You've got these people who've been living under Rur's rule for who knows how long, and suddenly O'Neill and Jackson arrive, and it represents this chance to break free.
Absolutely. And I think, on a deeper level, Stargate really taps into this universal human desire, this yearning for freedom. It's about standing up to tyranny and finding the courage to fight for what's right, even when you're facing these impossible odds. And that's something that, resonates with audiences no matter when they watch it.
It really does. And let's face it, who doesn't love a good underdog story?
I know, right?
You have this small group of humans, completely outmatched, but they use their ingenuity and, a bit of luck to outsmart Ra. It's that classic David and Goliath thing.
It is. It's so satisfying to watch them pull it off. Speaking of technology, though, did you know that the Stargate itself is actually rooted in real-world physics?
Really?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
So the concept was inspired by a physicist named Kip Thorne
Okay.
and his work on wormholes,
Wormholes.
which, theoretically could create shortcuts through space-time.
Yeah.
And so the filmmakers took this mind-bending concept and they turned it into this visual, tangible object that people could understand.
Wow.
I think it's a great example of how science fiction can take these really complex ideas and make them exciting and accessible.
Yeah, it really is. And the Gould,
Yeah.
the alien race that Ra belongs to,
Huh?
they seem very inspired by Egyptian mythology.
Oh, they are. And I think that's a really smart move,
Yeah. Yeah.
Because by drawing on that mythology, they create this sense of familiarity, even though it's an alien world. You have Ra, Osiris, Horus, all these familiar names. But they're given this sci-fi twist,
Yeah.
and it just adds this really rich layer to the world building.
It's funny, speaking of that, I was actually reading some trivia about the film, and Jay Davidson, who plays Raw,
Yeah.
he was nominated for an Oscar for The Crying Game.
I know. It's wild. You would never know it was him under all that makeup.
It's amazing, right?
It is. And it really speaks to his talent as an actor,
Hmm.
to be able to convey so much emotion and depth, even when you can't see his face. And it makes you wonder, like, what other hidden gems are there in Stargate?
Yeah.
For example, did you know that Kurt Russell wasn't the first choice for Colonel O'Neill?
No. Who was it?
It was Nick Nolte.
Oh, wow, that would have been a completely different film.
I know.
It's amazing how casting choices can completely change the feel of a movie.
It makes you appreciate all the different elements that have to come together to make a successful film, right?
Yeah,
From the writing to the casting, the visuals, the music. And I think with Stargate, it all came together in this really special way.
it did. And it's had such a lasting impact. I mean, what do you think it is about the film that has made it, such a touchstone for so many people?
Well, for me, it's the visuals. David Arnold's score is epic, and it really elevates the whole adventure. And, some of the CGI might look a little dated now,
Mm.
but the practical effects, especially the Stargate itself, still hold up so well. I think there's a tangibility to them.
A realness.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that you just don't get with CGI.
Yeah, I agree with that. And you can't talk about Stargate without talking about the fact that it launched this whole franchise.
Oh,
I
absolutely.
mean, SG-1, Atlantis, Universe, they took that core concept and just ran with it.
I know, and it's amazing because they did it while staying true to the spirit of the original film.
Yeah.
They expanded the world, they explored new characters and stories, but they always kept that sense of wonder and adventure that made the film so special.
It's really impressive how they managed to keep it fresh for so long.
10 seasons of SG-1. That's not even
Yeah.
counting the spin-offs.
I know. It's amazing. I think it just goes to show how much potential there was in that initial concept.
It's like the Stargate itself is this built-in mechanism for exploration, right?
Yeah.
And that allows for endless possibilities. New worlds, new civilizations, new challenges. It's really like a writer's dream.
It is. And it's not just about the quantity of stories, right? I mean, the quality is there too.
Hmm.
The show's dealt with some pretty complex ideas.
They did, yeah.
Like the ethics of advanced technology, the nature of belief, the challenges of understanding other cultures. I mean, big stuff.
Right, and they didn't shy away from asking those tough questions. But they managed to do it in a way that felt really organic.
Right.
It never felt preachy or forced. It was just part of the story.
Yeah. It's a tricky balance to strike, but I think they pulled it off.
They really did.
Yeah.
And they still managed to deliver those compelling characters, those great plots, and, that classic Stargate action and humor.
I think that's what people really connected with. That and the sense of optimism that runs through the whole franchise.
You're right, because it's not some dystopian future they're presenting. It's this vision of humanity going out into the cosmos and facing the unknown with courage and curiosity.
Mm.
It's inspiring.
It really is. It speaks to this very fundamental human desire, that desire to explore, to push our boundaries, to connect with something bigger than ourselves.
Stargate taps into that in a way that few other franchises do.
Yeah,
And it does it with this sense of fun and adventure that's just infectious.
totally. You watch it and you just want to jump through that Stargate yourself.
Right.
Yeah.
See what's on the other side.
Mhm.
Who knows what you might find.
Exactly.
Yeah. And it's not just about escaping to these planets, you know what I mean?
Right.
It's about rediscovering our own past in a way.
That's interesting.
Yeah. And, questioning what we think we know.
Yeah, maybe there is more to these ancient myths and legends than we realize.
Yeah.
Maybe there's some grain of truth hidden in there.
I love that idea. I mean, it's like Stargate gives us permission to look at history with fresh eyes,
Yeah.
to consider these alternative explanations for things we've always just taken for granted.
Yeah, it opens up this whole new realm of possibilities.
It does.
Not just about what happened in the past, but what could be out there in
Exactly.
the future.
And I think the TV series really took that and ran with it.
Yeah, they did.
Each episode was like stepping through another Stargate,
Yeah.
encountering new civilizations, new challenges.
New layers to the mythos.
Exactly.
It's amazing how they kept it fresh for so long.
I know, it really is.
10 seasons of SG-1.
Yeah,
That's not even counting the spin-offs.
it's incredible, and I think it speaks to the creativity of the writers, but also just that enduring appeal of the core concept.
Yeah.
You have the Stargate, right? This built-in mechanism for exploration.
Yeah.
And that just allows for endless variations and permutations.
Endless possibility.
Endless possibilities. It's like a writer's dream come true.
It is, and it's not just the quantity, right? It's the quality.
Right.
I mean, the show's tackled some pretty complex themes.
They do big
The
ideas.
nature of belief, the ethics of technology,
Uh-huh.
the challenges of intercultural understanding, the responsibilities of power. I
Right.
mean, heavy stuff.
It is.
Yeah.
But they never shied away from those big questions.
No, they didn't.
And they did it in a way that felt organic. It's
Yeah.
never preachy or heavy-handed. It was just part of the story.
It's a delicate balance,
It
but they
is.
managed to pull it off.
They did, and they still managed to deliver those, compelling characters, engaging plots, and that classic Stargate action and humor.
Yeah. And I think running through it all is this sense of optimism.
Yes.
It's not a dystopia.
It's not.
It's a vision of humanity going out there,
Yes.
exploring, facing the unknown with courage and curiosity.
It's inspiring.
It is. It speaks to that very basic human desire
Yeah.
to explore, to push ourselves, to connect with something bigger than ourselves.
Stargate taps into that in a way that I think few other franchises do.
And it does it with a sense of fun and adventure.
Absolutely.
That's just infectious.
Yeah, you can't help but get swept up in it.
You just want to jump through that Stargate and see what's out there.
Exactly. Who knows what you might find?
I mean, it's amazing one film spawned this whole universe
I know, it's incredible.
of stories.
It really is. And, it all goes back to that Stargate,
Right.
that simple but powerful image,
Mhm.
a doorway to the unknown.
Yeah.
And it resonates on so many levels,
Yeah.
Literally, it's like, oh, wow, interstellar travel,
Yeah.
exploration. But then, metaphorically,
Yeah.
it's our own curiosity,
Mm-hmm.
that desire to push the boundaries and experience new things.
Yeah, it really makes you think, like, what if we did discover a Stargate
Oh, God.
right here?
I know.
How would that change everything?
Right. I mean, how would it change our understanding of the universe,
Everything.
our society, our culture,
Yeah.
our whole sense of who we are?
It's a lot to think about.
Big questions.
It is, but I think, Stargate gives us at least a framework
Yeah, a starting point.
for thinking about it.
Yeah, it shows us like the potential benefits,
Uh-huh.
but also the risks,
Mm.
of encountering other civilizations and having to grapple with these advanced technologies and, even just confronting our own ideas about what reality is.
And maybe some of those mysteries are closer than we think.
Ooh, I like that.
Right.
It's like it plants a seed
Yeah.
of possibility.
Yeah.
And makes us look at the world a little differently.
With a sense of wonder.
Yeah, a sense of wonder and curiosity.
So I guess as we wrap up
Okay.
this deep dive on Stargate, what are your final thoughts?
What takeaways would you leave our listener with?
Well, I
Wow.
think first and foremost, Stargate is a reminder that it's okay to embrace your inner child,
Yeah.
to get excited about the unknown.
Yeah.
It's a celebration of imagination
An adventure.
and adventure. Yeah.
And there's always more to learn,
Always.
to explore, to discover.
Yeah.
And whether that means, revisiting the film or diving into those TV series
Yeah.
or even just, looking up at the night sky
Yeah.
and letting your imagination run wild. It's all good. Stargate opens up this whole universe of possibilities.
It does.
And ultimately, the journey is up to you.
That's a good note to end on.
Where will your curiosity lead you?
Awesome. Thanks for joining me on this deep dive.
It was fun.
And we'll see you next time.